We are counting down our week 17 matchups, starting with our least favorite matchup. So, who gets the honor of the least interesting matchup of week 17? Stay tuned. Welcome to Summer School, Club Fantasy's best ball podcast, streaming exclusively on YouTube. I am your host, Austin Amandolia, and here, as always, with me is Matt Record. This is a CRAM session focused on a single Week 17 matchup. We're going to go through every single one, so make sure you like and subscribe to the channel so you can get coverage of every single Week 17 matchup, and by doing so, get a breakdown of how to draft every single team for best ball leagues in 2024. Today, we're starting with our lowest ranked game, number 16 out of 16. And if you want any clues as to what matchup that might be, you could take a look at my lovely co-host, Matt Record, who has brought all of his New England Patriots out because we have ranked the Los Angeles Chargers versus New England Patriots 16 out of 16. And to tell you a little bit more about why, I'll just tell you the ranking they got. So all of these matchups are ranked on a scale of 1 to 10. They got a 4. That's where we're starting. A nice 4. And if you're asking why, well, let's talk about some of the betting lines really quickly. So right now, the over-under for this matchup is at 41.0. That is ranked 16th out of all 16 teams. They're barely projected to get over 40 combined points in this matchup. The Chargers are 2.5-point road favorites. Another interesting thing is I've added up the totals for their matchups in weeks 15 and 16 to give us a sense of like, what's their playoff schedule like? Is there a lot of upside in those weeks 15, 16, 17 rounds? Also ranked 16th out of 16th for these two teams at 174 points. The ADP of the first player being drafted off of the board is round 7, which is an indictment on both teams. And this is an outdoor matchup in it's not Boston, but basically in Boston. It's up north. It's cold that time of year. That's the important thing you should know. So that's rough. But we're going to start with the optimistic case. Matt, tell me, how does this matchup go well for fantasy football?
Yeah, this is a brutal one for my boys, tell you what. So how does this go well? So Justin Herbert reemerges as the dynamic QB we've grown to root for in the past few years, but all of the new additions to the Chargers offense, sort of work out. Probably need some injuries from both defenses for the offenses to thrive. The Patriots have a really, really good defense. The Chargers have a really good defense. There's a bunch of questions on offense. So Justin Herbert has to re-find himself. Quentin Johnson needs to work out as that draft pick, or him and like Lab McConkey need to work out. And then on the Patriots, Drake May just has to be good. Like he just has to be starting. It's not Jacoby Brissett anymore. And then just has to have some sort of great year that coming out of nowhere. I don't know. It's tough to find many positive ways this game's going to work out. But there's always a chance.
There's always a chance. I think I'm with you there. I think the way that this game hits a ceiling is like the Chargers, they pass the ball with Justin Herbert. He's being Justin Herbert, the one that we've come to know and love. They get up, and then the Patriots, they have to do something to come from behind. And maybe that means they dump the ball off a ton to some of their running backs that I think are interesting 0 running back targets. And that allows kind of that not necessarily a shootout, but at least like you get a decent amount of passing volume out the gate from one team and then the other team's playing from behind. That's, I think, the best case scenario for this game is for essentially one team to get up big, probably the Chargers, and then the other team have to make up ground. But what is worst case scenario for this matchup?
I mean, I think it's December 29th in Foxborough, Mass. Worst case is it's a blizzard with a bunch of wind, and then both teams have to just run the ball a whole bunch, which the Patriots at least have some defined, hierarchy in their running backs. The Chargers, we'll talk about in a second. Who the heck knows is going to be RB1 at that point? But no, and then it's just a 13-3 game like the Patriots loved playing last year, and then no one actually does anything.
Yeah, I think that is the worst case scenario. Like especially on the Patriots side of the ball or the Patriots defensive side of the ball, like that's a tough defense. And so it could very easily turn into a defensive struggle. They also, we know that Jim Harbaugh likes to run the ball, and so he might be slowing down the clock. I assume the Patriots are going to want to keep the clock slow all year long because they have a underwhelming offensive line. They will probably be trotting out their rookie quarterback at this point. So I could see this easily being a slog fest, a slow game that doesn't really get the fantasy output there. That doesn't mean we're not targeting it at all, though. It means we're not necessarily relying on it in our best ball lineups. And to that point, we want to talk about favorite stacks and correlations for this matchup. So, Matt, if you are drafting players from this game, what are some of the stacks, some of the player combinations that you really like in this matchup?
Sure. So I'm going to play the homer thing here and talk about the Patriots for a second. As you sort of mentioned with the ADPs, and justifiably so, a lot of the Patriots wide receivers are essentially free because we don't expect a whole lot of production. But with that, Drake May is practically free. We're looking at him being QB 26. And then the presumed number one wide receiver for the Patriots, Jalen Poke, the rookie, he's wide receiver 66. So these are free. So for me, I'm targeting Drake May and then some combination of Poke, or I really love Demario Douglas there in the slot. Again, practically free. And then the other one is Hunter Henry. So really the Drake May to Hunter Henry pipeline. Hunter Henry is tied at 18. You're looking for a second tight end. He's a touchdown machine, which is great for best ball. Granted, we have to make it to the red zone for him to be a red zone threat. But I really like the New England Patriots in the sense of I can get a free stack at the end that if it pays off, it's going to be great for me.
Yeah, that is one of the good things about this matchup is because of where the players are going, you are not going to be relying on them and almost inherently. Because again, the first player in this matchup doesn't come off the board until round 7. So I'm going to take the Charger side of this, and I'm going to talk about some of my comeback options I like on the Patriots side. But I think first off, you've got to love Justin Herbert, regardless of what his season has been like in the past. And I like the idea of pairing him with Joshua Palmer because he is the proven wide receiver asset in this offense. He's the one with the most experience, and I think the one to be kind of the stable force in that offense. I might later bring in a tight end on that side, but I think I would feel comfortable just skinny stacking this honestly and going with Herbert and Palmer, and then bringing it back on the Patriots side with a Ramondre Stevenson, who's going in the 7th round. I love the fact that he's still got that dual threat ability. Though he's going to run the ball well, he gets the red zone touches, and he's useful in the pass game. If I miss on Ramondre, I'm happy to go with Antonio Gibson in the 14th round. And then I agree with you. One of the last guys I'm looking at, if I'm kind of correlating all these guys together, is that Demario Douglas in the 16th round. I think there's some really great value there. Speaking of value, who do you think is the best value at ADP in this matchup?
Yeah, I'm stealing one of your answers there. It's Justin Herbert. He's coming off the board as QB 17, ADP 133. So don't know where that is in terms of rounds. Maybe a 12th round, 11th, 12th round. Like, yes. I don't know. You can wait a QB and end up with someone who has top 5 upside. I don't care who he's throwing to. Or if they're going to run more, like I don't care. Like at that draft capital, you're getting a chance of a top 5 QB, even despite the scheme change. For not necessarily free, but he's going to be your QB2. He just has to have a few weeks to buoy your QB situation there. But I think that's a heck of a steal.
Yeah, honestly, like the answer is Justin Herbert. The fact that you're getting him as late as you are is highway robbery. If I were to throw another player out there, I think I would come back to Joshua Palmer. The fact that he is coming in just barely as a wide receiver 2, he's being drafted as the wide receiver 2 for the Chargers, I think is mispriced. I think that he has a better chance of being the wide receiver 1 than either Quentin Johnston or Ladd McConkey. So I take that value. Now I want to talk about the biggest question mark for these two teams. Matt, what's your biggest question mark about either of these two teams?
Yeah, my biggest question mark I think is with the Chargers, and again, who is going to be how often are they going to be running, and then who is going to be running, right? So their depth chart right now: it's Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, the rookie Kamani Vidal, and then Isaiah Spiller, I think second year guy there. Those are 4 decent options. If they end up running a whole bunch, any one of them could be valuable. And, J.K. Dobbins obviously has injury history. Gus Edwards similarly, so this one of those things, like how often are they going to run? Are they going to be effective while running? And then who's going to be the guy, which again leads to some nice value later on in drafts where you can take a flyer on one of these guys and they might end up winning you your league.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly the type of questions we want to be looking at as camp rolls through. Which of these guys are the guy that's going to be getting all the touches, because that's where we can start to find value and advantages on the Chargers side. On the Patriots side, my biggest outstanding question is, when are we going to see Drake May play? Because he currently is being drafted ahead of Jacoby Brissett. I could see a world where they sit him all year, frankly, because they don't need to start him this year. I don't think I don't know, you tell me if I'm wrong, Matt. I don't think Patriots fans have any expectations about this team this year.
0.
So I think they could be patient if they want to be. Because of that, should we be going after Jacoby Brissett? And
yeah, potentially. I know word out of the Patriots camp is Drake May looks like the best quarterback on the roster, which is what you'd want to hear. Granted, it's July, like who knows. So I would either draft May right at the end or just not draft anyone at all. Or just like Brissett, there's too many question marks. Who are we throwing to? You know what I mean? Like the Patriots wide receivers are pretty bad, which again leads to opportunity because you can get people for free. They're going to have to throw it to someone because we're going to be losing in a bunch of games, right? I think there are other safer bets there at the QB spot. If you're looking at, QB range 26 to 32, and by safer bet, it's not a safe bet, but I think there are better options than Jacoby Brissett because he's very limited when he gives you with rushing upside and whatnot. So if you're taking your flyer on Drake May, go for it. But there is a very real world where we're losing a bunch of games. So why even play him at all?
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. I think Drake May is a really great third quarterback for your builds, particularly if you have at least one quarterback with a late bye week, so you're not relying on Drake May early in the season when he may not have yet started. Some other teams that you should be paying attention to when you are drafting the New England Patriots and the Los Angeles Chargers are the teams that they're playing in weeks 15 and 16. So who are those teams? For the Chargers, they play Tampa Bay in week 15 and Denver in week 16. So again, some kind of gross matchups potentially there, like that Denver matchup could be really rough. It could be really slow. But if you are drafting the Chargers, you might as well throw at least one Denver player in there to try and get some of that week 16 correlation. And the Tampa Bay side of things, I think, is a little bit more interesting. That could get into some shootout potential in week 15. So I like the upside there. And then we look at the Patriots. They play the Arizona Cardinals in week 15 and then the Buffalo Bills in week 16. And for that Bills matchup, it could be really gross either way, because no matter where they are, it could be snowing unless they say, well, I guess we got to go to Detroit again. Like it could be a rough time. But again, you're getting exposure to some interesting offenses there. I kind of like the matchups on the New England side better because I like those teams and those rosters better than on the Chargers side of those playoff matchups. But that is going to be all for this episode. Before you go, don't forget to hit subscribe, turn on notifications. Look out for our next episode where we break down our 15th favorite Week 17 matchup. But for Matt Record, I'm Austin Amandolia. This has been Summer School's CRAM session. And remember, defense wins championships, offense wins fantasy football, and best ball wins money. See you next time.